Yes, hello everyone. So I'm just getting things set up. I'm not sure if you can hear me and who's there, but I'll just
Turn the video off.
cool. Yes, hello everyone. So I'm just getting things set up. Communications. Well, one can say skill. I like your friends.
This guy's just called Mark.
Cool. And hello, Cam. All right, I'm almost got it set up.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool.
Just coming here.
You just want to get
what? I did not even realize that. Oh, God.
Is anyone out there?
Yes, hello.
It's just, yeah, I guess your guys' volume is like way down or something. You'd think I'd know how to use Zoom by now.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I guess we don't use Zoom, so we probably don't want to use it as much. Cool. All right. So this is going to be a kind of a strange Q&A because we don't have a anyone to do Q&A. So it's going to be kind of an open for all, open season where yeah, we can just talk about it with all of us, with whoever's in this chat, and I'll kind of loosely moderate it, whatever way possible. So if you have a question, feel free to just unmute and ask a question. I guess I'll start by saying thank you all for coming and joining. That was I think you can see how much hard work the actors put into the show, and they really they really sweat it out, and they're all over the place. They're driving around across Melbourne, across Sydney, and doing crazy things. And that, as you saw in that last scene, it's just, I mean, it's just wacky and weird, and they go sort of all for it. And I think I just want to say thank you, because this is the second night that we've done this, and we probably won't be doing it until the next run, which we're not sure. So I just want to just quickly say thank you in front of everyone to the actors. You guys did a fantastic job. Yeah. So let's get little virtual claps. There you go, little virtual claps. Yeah, I thought let's maybe just jump straight into questions. If anyone has a question, feel free. Otherwise, I'll kind of, I guess, ask some questions to the actors perhaps, and we can start that way. Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, so that was like the Godfather 2 of like Zoom horror things. Like the first one was good, Beatsy, and then this one there was like dozens more characters, more scariness. Like that was really different. That was really different from the original. What just happened the last few months?
Yeah, well, I think we're all still trying to trying to figure that out. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been like an intense month of getting this together and figuring out what it is. I think the original concept was, we're all big fans of it, of course, and we work really hard in that. But I think we didn't really get too much time to spend on narrative. So we kind of wanted to put a little bit more narrative into it. I think the first show heavily relied on jump scares, which I find is anyone who knows horror, or anyone who knows any inkling of horror, knows that that's a very cheap trick in the genre. And I thought it would be interesting just to kind of make something that is more unsettling. And I was thinking about this today, and I think the shows actually really tell the situations we were in at that time, right? So the first show was created straight when we went into lockdown, and I hate to say it, but there was like this kind of buzz around lockdown, right? Like there was this kind of strange excitement that we all had around it, where it was like we're all at home. Oh, this is kind of whoa. This, we're all talking Zoom. What is Zoom? And then we kind of got a taste of freedom, and then we went back into lockdown 2, and lockdown 2 was dark for all of us in Melbourne, right? I'm specifically talking about Melbourne. And I think the shows really reflect those different tones. And the first one was a little bit more funner, I think, where this one was dark and twisted and unsettling, and feels like there's no way out, right? And I think that's probably why we did it. And also, it's a challenge. I think that's probably the biggest reason. How to push this whole format a little further and test strange excitement, like moving outside the house. It was like we're all at home. Whoa, we're all talking Zoom. What is Zoom? If you have your audio on, I just recommend. That's my sister too. That's hilarious. Nicolette, turn your audio on mute. She quickly did it too. That's so funny. Thanks for watching, Nicolette. Is there someone's asking, sorry. Someone's just said in YouTube there's an echo delay in audio. Someone has the mic on. That's me. Thanks, Lester. There you go. Okay, so is there any other questions that that might come up, or I'm sure there's got to be a couple here and there. That's cool. So I'll ask, because I think this is quite interesting to ask the actors. What in terms of today? What were the moments that kind of went wrong, and what were the moments that kind of freaked you out? Because I always think it's interesting after the show to kind of reflect and figure out like where the troubleshooting was and how we kind of figured things out. But yeah, I'll turn that to you guys.
Can I say something? I don't know if anybody noticed, but at the very end, when I went in my car, I forgot my car keys in the house, and I could not get back in the house because I locked myself out.
Oh my god! Yeah.
But it's live. I'm just glad that I didn't, like before, when I came back to my house after leaving Meg's, luckily I did not lock my car, because if I locked my car, I wouldn't have even be able to get into my car. So I'm just glad I got in my car. Michael, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I was in his ear going, Ty, can you drive right now? Because you're not driving. And I was like, Ty, say mum if you can't drive. And he was like, mum. Okay. I'll move on.
My bad.
Oh, funny.
I was like, when I was running to the car and I felt my pockets and my keys weren't there, I was like, no. Yeah, so that's that.
I'll also say, if you want to ask questions in the text, the chat box in Zoom, feel free to ask a question there if that's easier. Any of the actors have any other moments? A couple.
Everything, the technology, like all just felt like it was on the knife's edge. Like my audio wasn't working right up until the show at 9 o'clock. Like we had to keep resetting throughout the show, wondering if you can get back onto the platform. So that was definitely a nerve-wracking one.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was switching between my laptop and my phone because my Wi-Fi wasn't working right up until 2 minutes before we started. So I went onto my 4G phone and then switched back to my laptop because that crashed halfway through. It was like, oh my God. But yeah, we got there. It's all part of it.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, out of all the shows we've done, the most sort of technical issues we've had. And I think we dealt with it because we've done it so many times. We've dealt with it expertly, really. You guys all did such a great job on dealing with the technology, and also the narrative sort of leans into the glitch. So we always have an excuse there, which I find really helpful. Yeah, there was a couple moments throughout the performance where where we had bad lags and stuff, and we were all talking to each other behind the scenes, going, okay, let's move that scene, let's prolong that, let's I'm going to cut there, I'm going to do that, and it worked. So yeah, well done. There's a question here. So okay, cast and crew, favorite horror movie and why? I like it.
That again?
Favorite horror movie.
Okay. Who asked?
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
I recently watched The Babadook, and I thought it was going to scare me a lot more than it did. I still found it really scary, but I thought it was just a really beautiful, really sad story. So I really liked it for that reason. I think horror movies can be really fun because they're sort of cheap thrills, cheap jump scares, but it's nice when you find one that's a really beautiful narrative as well.
I'm personally big fans of the recent kind of trend of films like Hereditary. And,
wait, can't he what?
How are you, Sarah? You know?
Wait, can't he what?
yeah, and that kind of films. Any other favorites out there? That was your brother, right?
How did you know that was my brother?
So, yeah. Any other favorite horror films out there?
Exorcism of Emily Rose. You hear that?
What's that?
The Exorcism of Emily Rose, I reckon, sticks in my mind. The power that it holds, like, behind everything, you know, it like makes your skin crawl. It's real, you know. Yeah, it feels real. It feels like there's something beyond.
I reckon if you guys maybe bring the camera closer to you, or we'll just come closer. Cool. There's another question here saying, can you tell us about how the live broadcast works? Sure. So so I'm streaming through YouTube. Like, I suppose where it ends up doesn't really matter. You know, you can use any platforms out there like Facebook or YouTube or any other streaming platform. But I use a professional sort of broadcast tool that is typically used for events and that kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's used for TV, but more so, like events like car events where they do things on stages and stuff. And everything, their feeds, they have there's 8 different feeds from their mobile phones and laptops, and that streams directly into my system. And my system has the program has just many, I think there's like 290 different frames really, and each frame has triggers that activate audio or image, and I'm cutting between all these different frames that you're seeing in your shot. So if it's a split screen, then that frame is structured and designed in a way that has a split screen. So I cut to that, and then say I'll cut to that screen, then it'll switch off someone's audio, switch on someone else's audio. So it's all pre-programmed in terms of the technical stuff, so that the actors can kind of play.
I've got a question. Yeah, I don't know how many people are online who are not part of the project, but I'd sincerely like to know what you all thought. And actual notes,
Feedback. We're looking for feedback.
Hi everyone, I might jump in if that's okay. We just loved it, Sophie and I, and we saw the first one a few months back as well. And so Sophie, what was your favourite moment? What did you like about it? Like, what really jumped out?
I loved everything about it. I liked how it was edited and how stylish it looked and the way it flowed, and all the jump moments between each person. I thought it was quite entertaining, and the tone, the music, it was quite frightening, and I really did enjoy the whole thing. So you had me on the edge of my seat all the way through it. It was quite an enjoyable experience and very well acted, I thought. So congratulations, and directed, of course. So thank you. It was very well done. Thank you for the experience.
And I think the scariest moment for me was when I think Ty, or Robert's character, was driving in the car at the end, and we see, I think it's the mum in the back seat, and that freaked me out. And I was wondering, was Robert's mum actually there? Was that
your mum,
edited
Robert?
in, or how was that done? Because I love that.
That's great.
That freaked me out.
Glad you both enjoyed it. But yeah, that was mum.
Was it?
Yeah, that was actually mum. Yeah.
Wow.
She's a movie star
That
now,
was so freaking
mum. Give her an IMDb credit. No,
She did a good job.
Yeah. Michael
Stand
wanted
out.
to get my whole family involved.
Great.
Dad's next, she's the only one. Yeah, she's great. She was so keen to just do anything too. She's like, okay, now can you just stare at your son and smile creepily? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Someone, hi, great performance. So is the movie based on the script of the person who committed suicide? Spirit of the person who committed suicide? No, no, it's that's just sort of a springboard event, really. Something that happens that kind of propels all the characters into sort of, yeah, I guess, madness. But that person was impacted in the same way as the other characters, so it's all part of the same, the same thing that's haunting them. They're all haunted by the same thing, including the person who dies in the beginning as well. Any other?
It's
Yes.
not really a question, but I watched it as part of a watch party. So we had like the YouTube thing on one side and then like videos of us on the, and I feel like that made it more scary because the whole time I was nervous. I had my light turned off. I was nervous that something was going to like appear in my background because I was somehow like part of the curse or whatever. That was, yeah, it was really freaky.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm so excited by these watch party ideas for the show specifically. I think it really adds this whole other element where you are, you're kind of with the characters in a sense, like the way that you're structured on the screen even. I'm glad that you did it. That's awesome. Question for Rob. Can you make the face you made when you died?
Who said that?
It's James.
Oh, James. All right. Here you go, mate. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. How's that? Was that all right?
Yeah. That wasn't bad at all.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll ask. Someone asked this question last night, which I thought was interesting. What was the toughest part about the show? Whether it's technical or whatever it is. Maybe it'd be great to hear from the actors on this one. Maybe Bessie.
I think it would just be every night being prepared to go off each other and be in character and be able to navigate the technical issues and also stay in character, as well as make sure your lighting and angles and everything is the way that the cinematographer Victor has already pre-planned it with us, because obviously we don't come up with that part of the show. So it's just sort of balancing that out with the actual acting, which is definitely a different kind of muscle to build.
Yeah, Victor, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what about the whole process of making this, to those who don't know?
Yeah, it's a very different way to work than usually. Usually you have people who are technically knowledgeable in the ways of lighting and camera and stuff working with you, and yeah, now it's kind of fun. It's interesting to can you just show me around your room, and then could you move this light over here? It's pretty time consuming, but it's also pretty rewarding because we kind of just have to use what we got, and I think it really is possible to kind of build these kind of moods with what's available in front of us. So yeah, it's been a very interesting challenge and very different.
Someone asked how much of the script was improvised. we had a very strong sort of, we had a script to work with, but if you look at that original script to what we have now, it is vastly different. I mean, you couldn't even kind of refer to it. So, and a lot of that script came from, a lot of the show came from just us collaborating and talking about each scene and then working on it, and also little sort of happy moments happened where, for example, Emily who plays Meg, and Rob, who plays Ty, we found out that they live, very close to each other, and that was just, sort of a gift. So we're like, well, we have to include that in the story. So we basically changed the whole structure of the first act to sort of, and beginning of the second act to revolve around Ty going to her place, and that's one of my favorite scenes. I love that scene. It's pretty spooky, and yeah, because that something's happened to her, yet he's going there. There's some good tension in that. Yeah, so it was quite a collaborative process.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, I sent my mum a message and said, did you watch it? And she said, I'm watching it now. And I told her, are you looking at it live? She goes, no, I'm watching.
She probably scrolled back on the feed.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird because sometimes, like after the show, I'll get messages on my in wherever on like my email or something. People ask me questions on Zoom, like, hey, I'm trying to log into Zoom. I'm like watching the feed, but I can't log into Zoom, and I'm like, yeah, the show ended like an hour ago. But they're just kind of rewinding and watching it coming in super late, which is fine, as long as they watch it. Yeah. Another question from Philippa. To the actors that leave their houses as part of the story, did you warn your neighbors about what you were doing?
And how do you mean? Like if we're in lockdown or not? Is that part of the question, or?
No, did you tell your neighbors that you're like?
Yeah, so like when Robert was going around and like driving around and trying to break into people's houses and stuff, did your neighbors know that you would be like out and yelling in the street and things?
I just thought it would be a usual night in Redfern.
I probably should have told my neighbors. I mean, they haven't said anything to me yet, so I'm glad. I'm like, I don't know if they can hear me scream in my house, but I don't know if Emily told her neighbors or not, because the gate, the gate's pretty loud, and it's kind of connected to the other house, kind of like it's really close. And last night we had a show for Rain Dance at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I was breaking into her house at 4:30 a.m. That's pretty sus. Like, yeah, so if cops come and they put me in handcuffs, that's live as well. So good thing that didn't happen.
I did. I wrote out my neighbors' letters. This was during the first show, the first round, because we were screaming a lot. And then this one time, Sam and I were walking down the hall, and our neighbor just kind of glared at us. And I mean, it sounds like
domestic abuse.
Yeah, I don't know if they heard that, but it does. It sounds like domestic abuse because it's like there's a lot happening, screaming at each other, and like prepping and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I need to tell at least like our corner what's happening. But no one has said anything.
So this is a good question from Mark. Mark's asking a lot of good questions. Some of the more frightening moments came from a strong tone, namely Jules's death scene and leading up to it, and Rob's car scene. Did you draw inspiration from other films for the look and feel of these moments? If so, which ones? Yes, definitely. There's one film in particular that I drew a lot of inspiration from, and if not, used as certain scenes in the film used as inspiration for scenes in this film, and that's a Japanese film called Kairo, which is just a classic Japanese horror film. I mean, he's one of the greats as a director. He doesn't just do horror, but he I think he won like Cannes this year. So he's a fascinating director, and he made this film that's very slow and very drawn out. Like even when the characters get scared, they move they don't run. They just kind of move really slowly away from these ghosts that they're seeing. And yeah, I highly recommend it. It's an unsettling tone. So and actually, all these films are great. And then yeah, I think films like Hereditary and The Witch and all those kind of things were also inspiration. We're kind of restricted at the end of the day by what we can do, right? Because we're doing this live, and we have to really take that into account. So we can't actually we look at these films, but we can't copy them, right? Because at the end of the day, we have wide frames in every scene, so we have to really think about how can we build tension and bring the user into wide frames, and then use the actors to portray any close-ups, right? To literally pick up the camera or come close to the camera like a Zoom call, and use a lot of those sort of techniques. So we can't copy films, but there was definitely inspiration from a couple. Were you tempted to throw in some jump scares? I'm asking because I found myself on the edge of my seat several times, especially when it's really dark. I found myself getting closer to the screen. Yeah, I was so tempted. So tempted. I mean, I was tempted today, after the Rain Dance show, I was so tempted just to go, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to throw in like a super scary jump scare just in the middle of it. And I kind of stopped myself. I was like, no, don't. That was your goal in this, was just to experiment and make something that doesn't rely on one single jump scare. And I mean, of course it would get the heart rate beating. There's no doubt about that. It's just a physical response to it. But I'm glad that we all sort of stuck to our guns on that and kind of just made something that was a little bit more unsettling. Yeah, sorry. Cool. These are really great questions, everyone. But I think we're probably coming to the end of this Q&A. I realize it's 10:38 and people probably want to go to bed. So we'll ask one more question from Annie, asking on Georgia Zoom. I didn't know what I was in for, and I was absolutely terrified. I did an Instagram gig, and I found that technically so difficult. So how you pulled this off, I don't know. Well, that's a nice way to end, actually. I guess it's not a question; it's just a nice compliment for the actors, because a lot of them really, they're doing all the hard work. Really, they're moving their cameras, they're running around. I'm sitting on a seat talking to them every second, of the rehearsals. They just listen to me, but they're the ones running around, and I'm surprised that they haven't quit on me, to be honest, because it must be incredibly frustrating sometimes to, for Caesar, for example, to have to find a bike and ride a bike around Sydney while I'm sitting on a chair telling him, yeah, man, just get a bike, just just check the weather, you'll be all right. And Nalani and Sam running around their apartment, filling bananas, putting bananas in condoms and tearing away at them in that final scene. So I think it all comes down to the willingness of the collaborators, and I lucked out in this one. Well, we all lucked out, I think. Cool. What's next on the horizon? We'll probably take this, and the point of the show is to, we're going to hopefully partner with theatre companies and whoever really, and do shows for people around the world. We've got some interesting prospects in Korea. The previous show did quite well in the UK and some other places. So yeah, we just want to keep doing it and tour. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, so thanks so much to everyone for joining again. Some of you joined for the second time, and yeah, let's all give a little virtual clap to all the actors, and yeah, come see the next show whenever it happens. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Congrats, so good.
Bye. Bye-bye. Who's hanging on?
There's one problem. Misplaced. I don't know if it's in my jacket.
This is also I got this. Cool.
Let me just.
I removed Edward. I'm removing him. Sorry, Edward. Kicking you out, buddy.
Ladies, Ed.
Kicking you out, Ed. Thanks. Thanks, Will. Sorry to do this. I'm going to kick you out. Thanks, Will. Bye.
He's Mo. Big day.
I'm taking the car now. Are you taking her bed? Next day?
Yeah, maybe I'll.
Yeah, let us know. Ask.
You have a Mac?
Ed's back.
Did he come back?
Yeah, he's back. Sorry, Ed. Get out of here, Ed. We're just going to do a little chat with the actors and stuff. But thank you. Oh, Emily's gone. How long? When did she leave?
I don't know.
Oh. How you feeling? Oh my god, that was intense.
I can't believe I forgot my car keys.
Oh, it was the funniest thing ever.
I'm sorry.
What's happening? Because you I was like, maybe that he's like stuck in between a parking spot or something. I was like, what? And like, if you can't drive, say mom.
I'm just so glad that I didn't lock my car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get in my car.
Oh no. Actually, it's funny that scene worked better than last night. Because I created like a fade, and you were still it was still broadcasting on YouTube. Thanks, Lisa.
What's up, YouTube? Thanks for watching.
People spying on YouTube.
Oh my god.
Thanks everyone on YouTube. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Peace out. I was stuck outside for like 5 minutes. I was full ringing the doorbell. I was hoping Mum would open, and she thought it was part of the scene. She's like, I just thought it was part of the movie. I didn't know.
Imagine if someone was like violently doing something to you, right? And she's just sitting there going, "Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's just acting."
Yeah. And Dad wouldn't open the door because it's Dad. It's just not his thing. So it's not his thing. Oh man, that's crazy. I learned for next time. I'm gonna leave my back door open because my back door was locked as well. So next time I'll leave my back door open. If